fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. My day by day life used to be somewhat normal. I am a man stuck in a sword, and one day my life felt like it faded. The next moment I was in my own blade, to which I've used to spill so much blood, in the name of the people I loved, to protect in my own kingdom. Ultimately, this was my own undoing, and I feel like I missed many chances in my own life. If I still had a body, if I was still there, maybe at one point I could have told the woman I loved the truth. Maybe I would have been able to marry, even if I did have to abolish the crown. And I felt like I failed in many ways. Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, a 13-year-old Melissa Shield, she attempted to go through the UA entrance exams. And in any other situation, she would have passed. However, UA has found many different things that do conflict. She's not at the proper age to take the actual test. And there's just one problem. She used a weapon under technicality, even if it did state that she needed it for her own quirk. Now, with that being said, she did meet with Principal Nezu and learn about all of this. UA is not going to be allowing her in for this year. However, after Principal Nezu did get a talk with the number one hero, All Might, and well, a few other things explained to him, he was able to look past this. She won't get in this year. However, she will be put on scholarship for next year, and she'll be allowed to retake the entrance exam. Now, Melissa, she was pissed. However, after talking with Midoriya, who's in the Blade, she was able to calm down. Now, Midoriya, he did get somewhat annoyed by the way she was acting mentally. She has just gone through something extraordinary. And she got into the top-ranking hero school with just using a sword. She should not be acting this way. Yes, her dream is postponed for one exact year. However, that does not give her the right to throw a hissy fit, as he would say. Now, Nezu, he was, however, also intrigued by the blade Melissa wields. And after learning that there's a person trapped within it due to unforeseen science or magic, he was very intrigued to learn about it all. The idea of magic in the real world. To an intellectual mind, it seems preposterous. Magic would just be science you do not understand, advanced calculations and mathematical formulas that a simple-minded person could not fathom. So they gave it a simple name, or a simple little term. Magic. Something no one can understand unless they were to create it themselves, and go through the process of doing so. Now, Melissa, she does increase in her training. and Midori and her would actually talk more, as she does get in and go through typical things. The next year, Melissa, who is at the age of 14, she would be in Class 1A, as she is sitting there with her blade directly next to her seat. Now, she was very excited. However, she does also show off a particular face, one of calm and seriousness. Now, people did arrive that day, and a few of them were surprised to see this girl. None of them can really say they saw her at the entrance exam, and it actually is quite intriguing. Now, we actually do then have where Aizawa, the teacher, he would introduce everybody after they are all seated and put in order. Him talking about how this girl right here is Melissa Shield, and she went on a recommendation. So, she also does have a particularly strange quirk that does mean she carries around a blade at all times. So, if they antagonize her and just retaliate with a few slashes, then it is to be expected. However, after talking with the girl and even actually sparring with her himself once, he's deduced that she's a very well-rounded individual in tactical skill. So do keep that in mind. Now, a few people would introduce themselves to her, and she would introduce herself as well. Everybody thought that she was some high-ranking, uptight, spoiled brat. And with the fact that she would hold her head up high and carry a blade. She seemed to act like a certain individual, and it kind of annoyed a lot of people at first. However, after actually approaching her and talking with her, many people had their opinions changed, as Eraserhead would do a quirk apprehension test. Now, we actually do then have in the locker room, where Melissa is changing, and she does have the blade at her side, as she actually does hear somebody talking, as this is Nejire. Now, Nejire is talking about how she's so excited that she's able to finally speak to people who do actually have strange and kind of weird quirks like her own. To which you do actually have Melissa, who would ask about her quirk. Nejire explaining it in a way that does make sense. Her quirk is called Spiral, and she basically is able to throw a blast of energy that spiral whenever they do come out of her body. And with these beams of energy, she does actually pack a mighty punch. However, it wastes her stamina. Now, Nejire actually does look at Melissa a bit more closely. She actually does have a bit more muscle on her than a lot of the other girls she's seeing. And there's actually even the fact that she does have a lot more definition in her biceps, and she actually does have abs. To which she does ask about all that. To which Melissa would explain she's been training hard for this, and that she's not going to just slow down because she's got in. Now, there actually is an outside, where Melissa was informed by Eraserhead to leave the blade. Now, Melissa, she does perform somewhat averagely, and whenever Aizawa does ask her to use her quirk, she does explain to him that she can't. Eraserhead is annoyed. Now, Melissa, she does just try and summon up her heroic spirit. And she actually is able to get one of her eyes to change a little bit of a blue color, as she does go to throw the ball. Now, Eraserhead, who was staying there for a minute and scolding her and trying to force her to use her quirk, was actually able to get her to do so. Her performing at least 1.5 times better than before. Now, Eraser was quite intrigued, and he did want to pull this power out of Melissa, since it did seem odd. Now, under normal circumstances, Melissa would probably at least be in the lower 15. However, I actually do want to say that she does place at least, let's just say, number 9 in her entire grade, or in her class. And the person who was number 20th is kicked out, which would alarm everybody. Now, the person is replaced, and things do continue a bit more normal to this canon, as there is in the Heroes vs. Villains, where everyone has geared up and gotten into hero costumes. Now, the teams are Her and Lemillion versus Tamaki and Nejire. Now, the way that this would go, Melissa, she does actually rely on some of the tactics that Midoriya has taught her. And she is able to split up Nejire and Tamaki. Now, after that does happen, her and Lemillion or Mirio are able to quickly take out Nejire, since she scouted ahead using her quirk. And everyone was quite surprised. Melissa didn't even unholster her weapon, and she was able to knock her out with a strike directly to the back of the neck, along with putting her into an actual hold. Now, we do actually then have Mirio, who, attempting to use his quirk, is able to look through a wall and try and find out where Tamaki is. Him talking about how he doesn't see him over here. And Melissa, she would ask him if he can do anything more with his quirk like that. Oh, my quirk's very simple. I can go through anything. Floors, walls, etc. However, the hard part's just making sure I don't get hurt. Now, Mirio would demonstrate, as he does bring his hand up and put it directly into the wall, talking about how under normal circumstances he can do this. However, if he does make his entire hand solid, it jumping back into the wall and almost smacking him in the face, that does happen. Now, you do actually have Melissa, who does tell Mirio that that is a good quirk. However, its weakness is very simple. Mirio asking about her quirk, as she actually does unsheath her blade and talk about how it's quite simple. She is able to fight, and she gets stronger in battle. Along with that, with her own weapon, she can slice through anything. Now, you do actually have Midoriya, who does inform Melissa about where her opponent most likely would be. And she just heads that way, as her and Tamaki actually do get into a fight. Tamaki trying to use clam armor and stay on defensive. Now, this is quite strange. Tamaki isn't used to fighting against somebody so directly. And whenever he was ambushed, you could say, it caught him a lot off guard, as Melissa was able to take him down using non-lethal attacks. Now, with that being said, that is how those events do go down in this timeline. As we actually do cut to a few years later, or roughly, let's just say, 2, where everyone is meeting again for the 3rd year at UA. In this amount of time, a few things have happened. Melissa and Nejire, they become very good friends, along with a few other people who are actually in her own grade. Along with that, you do actually have Tamaki, who has come a bit more out of his shell than canon. He was scared and very shy. However, with Melissa there at his side, along with Mirio, these two basically do cheer him on and are like basically two sons trying to tell him what to do. As you do also have Mirio, who he is considered to be a very, very powerful fighter. However, when it comes to actually winning matches, he is nearly undefeated, since there's only one person who has been able to actually take him down. That being the number 2 ranking in the entire school of the new Big Three, Melissa Shield. Now, Melissa is known as the only person in UA who has been able to take down Mirio. In their sports festival they faced off against, Melissa was permitted to use her weapon. And she's made massive leaps and strides in power. She was able to come in second place. However, it was a problem. The first year, Mirio won the sports festival. And she was caught off guard whenever his uniform in the final matchup came off. Her going to bring her hands up and shield her face. However, Mirio was able to punch her in her wrist and get her to drop her blade, as he did then push her out of the actual arena. Now, this did annoy Melissa, and she was actually able to overturn a victory in the second year of UA. Whenever she was able to actually get back into the top ranking for the finals. She was able to beat him using an actual tactic she came up with against his own quirk. Now, she was able to beat him in the semifinals, and whenever it did come down to the finals, it was her and Nejire, to which she was able to actually deflect and block her attacks completely. Now, it did seem to be quite odd. And, well, yeah. Nejire was very confused. The amount of power behind her attacks would normally destroy concrete walls within seconds. However, Melissa using a regular quote-unquote iron blade is able to completely nullify them and absorb them. Now, Melissa, she did lose because of Nejire's advancements of her own, as Melissa did try to use her heroic spirit to at least, well, take her on. Now, this was quite intriguing, as Melissa she believes that she's beginning to develop new skills that Arthur, quote-unquote, has once used before. And she has tried to ask him about many of them, since she did almost use one in the sports festival against Nejire. Now, Arthur does explain the way the heroic spirit does work. There is a particular thing about it. The heroic spirit is very malleable once you do gain control over your spirit animal. Now, Melissa was surprised to hear about this, asking when she was going to learn. You simply were not ready, young woman. Young woman? Young lady, whatever. Listen. The spirit animal is something that you are not ready for. In fact, it took me many years on simple attempts to earn it. Many years? Yes. I had to earn it long before I picked up my blade. And that's why I don't believe you were ready. Why I'm not ready? Now, Arthur would explain the process. What you would really have to do is sit down and meditate with the blade in hand. And you have to maintain control over your spirit, your energy. And you have to let it rage like an inferno without it burning you. Only then will your spirit animal be revealed. Now, this is basically a test of inner peace. How much power do you hold determines what your spirit animal would be. And Melissa, she did attempt to do this. on the break over her second year for UA. She went on a, well, patrol with a pro hero who is keen in swordsmanship. And learning a bit more from him, he did eventually learn about what Melissa was trying to do. She's talking about how she does need to meditate and learn a bit more of inner peace with herself. Now, she would attempt to do this, as it was very late at night whenever she did make this attempt. Her with the blade directly in front of her, as she does take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Her reaching forward and picking up the blade, before she does this turn on the heroic spirit. Now, the power that she has received from all this, no one else can see the aura around her weapon. And in fact, the amount of growth she's gone through. She feels like she's, well, 20 times stronger than before. And it's very insane. Very few people can keep up with her whenever she has this weapon with her by her side. However, even then, it does also seem to be somewhat crazy. Now, you do actually then have where she does close her eyes and begin to try and concentrate. Now, many attempts are made by Melissa. However, she does find it to be nearly impossible, except for one day, whenever she made an attempt. This attempt was months later after this knowledge was revealed to her. She had it for just a split second. She could feel the animal with her that day, and she believes that she knows what it might be. However, she would have to make another attempt because she still failed. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.